Hi guys, welcome back to the original Judo podcast. I am James Austin, and today it is my absolute pleasure to welcome a new co-presenter to the show. He is an old randori partner of mine. I think he likes to think he used to give me a shoeing up and down the mat, but I hate to break it to him. Never then, not now. Reece Calder, welcome to the show. Welcome to the original Judo podcast. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm excited. It's been a dream of mine to be part of this, Austin. You know that anything you're involved with, I like to be involved with. So, yeah, I'm delighted to be here.
Well, finally, you've made it to the big time.
I've made it. I'm gonna phone my mum after this and tell her I've made it.
So you have appeared on the show before, a couple of weeks ago, with your dad and your brother.
Yep.
When we're recording this, that hasn't come out yet, but by the time this goes on air, people will be like, "Oh yeah, he was already on."
yeah. But that should have been my second performance.
It should. Yes, you're one of the legendary lost episodes from about episode 4 or 5.
It's somewhere in the cloud.
It was when I was still working out how to do the recordings. It was a very exciting time for me.
It was an exciting time for me.
Well, look, mate, thanks so much for coming on, and hopefully we can use this as a springboard to get you back on a few times.
Oh, definitely, man. Definitely rekindle the romance.
yeah, something like that. That's what it was. I do remember you were young and very strong, and did your best to give me a shoe in every session.
Yeah, I think maybe once every few months I maybe got a good session.
Never.
I don't know. There's been a few times, but that's in the past. Looking forward to this episode and what we've got in store for everyone.
So today we are looking at the pound for pound #1 king of the decade. And we're going to record again in a week's time. We're going to look at the pound for pound #1 queen of the decade as well. But this week we're looking at the men, and we're basing it off, hopefully some of you guys will have seen on the Twitter, I ran a series of polls over each of the weight categories to see who everyone felt the best of the decade was. Any surprises for you when the names came up?
A few surprises that weren't in there, but obviously because, like you said, we're doing it off those finals and stuff like that. So we've got a draft pick each. Are
you complaining about my vetting process?
No, I'm not. I'm just surprised that there's a couple of names that weren't there, and I thought, I don't know, they could have been in there. But that is the beauty of judo, isn't it? Like, it is completely your own opinion. What's your favorite style of judo? What's your favorite fight? It's all your opinion. So that's the beauty of the sport. But not only that, just looking through the names, some surprising results, I think, throughout the board. But there's a couple that were shooing to win it. So I'm excited to go through them and excited to look through them all and discuss going forward who we think is going to be the king.
So we've got 14 names, like 2 finalists from each weight, and as you said, we're both gonna pick a wild card, people who didn't either make the final or maybe didn't make the cut. Now, my original kind of criteria for the majority of athletes to make the cut for that best of the decade in a category was they had to have a world title. Now, there was a handful of fighters who made it where someone had been so dominant there wasn't enough players to fill the full 8. But the majority, and I think pretty much every single winner who came back had been, was a world champion. There was no one else.
So, no, it's, like you said, it's hard to choose as well. When you've got some of the weights, there is someone who's been so dominant, or other weights are two athletes that are just so close. It is hard to try and see anyone else type thing. But I'd say you've done pretty good with these choices. So I'll give you.
So should we run through the 14 names who are there and then come to the wild card after that?
That sounds good to me.
So if we start from the bottom at 60 kilos, where our finalists from Best of the Decade were Takato and Soborov. And at the time, Takato edged it in the vote, the people's vote.
Yeah.
Did that go along with what you thought, Reece?
I think it did. When you take into consideration like both the results, they're both pretty close results. They've both got both 3 times world champions. Obviously, Sobrov has got 3 Olympic bronzes, so he's got 2012, 2016, but 2008, so doesn't really count as such, but still 3 Olympic bronzes, Masters golds. Like they've both got very, very similar results. But in my opinion, I don't know, there's just something about Takato, his style of judo and the way he fights. He sort of blends that Japanese style with the European style. So for me, I voted Takato and was quite happy with him winning that sort of. I was glad it was those 2 in the final. Don't get me wrong, but I thought Takato was the winner for me. So what about yourself?
So I voted Takato, but my personal favorite at the moment is the younger Japanese player Nagayama. So I was a little bit disappointed to see him do less well.
It's like you said, it's when you've got players like that, those having Takato and Nagayama in the same pool, like head to head wise, they're pretty close. Like it's an exciting time when you've got players like Mudrinov, Olympic champion, can't even get out of a pool. Do you know what I mean? It's a Galstein as well, and the other was Sobrov. Like it's mad. But yeah, and I was looking over it as well, so I've went into a little bit of my revision mode and like looking at stuff and who won head to heads. Like, do you know Takato and Sobrov only actually had 1 fight?
Oh wow!
And Takato edged it, so
very good.
Kind of played out properly for me. So yeah, no. I agree with you, Nagayama, as well, but it's good because he's still young. It's quite an exciting time for him. So, in Japanese terms as well, he's still young. So, who knows what he could go on to after Tokyo type thing.
So, moving up to 66, 2 finalists. We had someone who, for me, pretty much dominated the first part of the decade in Ebinuma, Japan. Yeah. And then arguably the dominant force at 66 at the moment, or certainly one of them, in Abe.
Yeah, again, like you said, Ebinuma is just one of those players that for that first half of 2010 to up to 2015 was just unbelievable. Probably would have been disappointed with his games in 2016, but he was on fire heading up to that. And like you said, arguably Abe has taken over that. Maruyama is also the one that could have, for me, made the final. So obviously Ebinuma was in the same pool as Maruyama, but it was always going to be one of those 2 in the final, wasn't it? So still, again, but some big names that didn't make it. The Korean An Bo had a great couple of years heading up to Rio. Obviously, you got Olympic champion again. Fabio's not made the final. Lasha Shavdatuashvili not made the final. Like, it shows you that the consistency for these players is what people are seeing, I think. So, yeah, I think a good final.
I think before we move on, we should let everybody know this is the first time for the podcast to be out on video as well. So it'll be on the YouTube channel. So you get to see my beautiful pixelated face, and Reece is in high definition.
Like 4K, Ultra HD, cinematic experience.
73 kilos.
Did we say who won 66?
Oh, I don't know if we did. 66.
So Ebinuma took it. But for me, one of the things with Ebinuma is he's still consistently performing even at the weight category above now. Mm-hmm. And I think that shows as well. There
weren't many athletes who had been like a feature across the whole decade.
Yeah,
and Ebinuma was someone who was there almost at the start, and
still going.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I agree. So, but it's good to see. It's like that old passing of the guard, isn't it? The old guard versus the new, and then right now the old guard's still got it according to the public.
Well, I was surprised to see that he beat Abe to stay with 66 for a minute longer. I was surprised to see he beat Abe because I thought that Abe, fresher in people's minds, would,
and he's a very exciting fighter, Abbey, as well. Like, he's won. Someone said that, it might have been Colin Oates that said that when you interviewed him in the past, he wants to throw for Rippon.
Yeah.
If you watch his fights, he doesn't try and catch people small. He wants to throw for Rippon, and it's exciting for people to see. So, yeah, I get what you're saying as well. That fresh in people's minds, but class sticks. Class sticks, doesn't it? So.
Looking at class. Look at that smooth transition to 73 kilos. It was only ever going to be one winner when Ono, hard to beat, and I think probably one of the favourites for this, you'd have to say. But the finalist who joined him was Nakaya, also Japan.
Yeah, and looking at the other players that were in 73s, it's like, for me, Pule, like, Ono wins every single time. He wins every single time. Pool B, when Nakaya, Hashimoto, Akimoto, and Origov, they're all very, very consistent players. For me, Akimoto is the best player that's never been to the Olympic Games yet. And it probably, he won't go type thing, but for me, is one of the best players that's never been to that top level. And Hashimoto is not far behind, because with the way it's going, Ono's too good for Hashimoto to go to that Olympic level yet. But yeah, it was only ever going to be Ono for me.
What do we think? You've talked about the Japanese players in that group. Obviously, there you've got one of the first men in the groupings that didn't have a world title to his name. But for me, is without a Shohei Ono, Origov probably the best player in the world. Yeah,
I think so as well. Just consistent, very, very consistent. He's Olympic silver to Ono, 2 world silvers, like Ono, and I think maybe one was Hashimoto, but those are 2 unbelievable players that we are very lucky to have fighting right now. But Origov is one of those players as well that he's just always there. He's got 8 gold medals at World Tour level, so that's Grand Prix, Grand Slam, or Masters, and like it's a good collection of medals to have. Do you know what I mean? So yes, I was surprised, to be honest, that Origov didn't come out that pool. I thought Origov could have picked Nakaya. I think Nakaya was a surprise for me, but again, he was double world champion, London silver medalist. Like, it's hard to choose. 73s is probably one of the most it's one of the most packed weights, but with a dominant force at the same time.
Yeah.
So you've got Ono, who is unbelievable and wins most things, but underneath there are quality players that if you take Ono aside and put him out, anyone could win type thing. So yeah, I think 73s was a pretty tough one to choose, but Ono had to win all together. It was just who was going to be the runner up to him. So yeah.
Moving up to 81 kilos.
Big boys weights.
The big boys. It's getting a little bit serious now.
It's getting serious, yeah.
We had the Korean Kim winning it from the Georgian Chikrishvili.
Yeah.
Something like that.
The Georgian guy.
The Georgian guy.
Do you know what? Again, like I said, 81s is one of those weights where a lot of the players, like any one of them, could have won it. I think in the first pool, Mookie was a close call for me. Since moving up from 73, he's on fire. Obviously, he's got a European gold at 73s, but now he's got European gold at 81s, and he's got the world gold as well. Could that have been changed if Molai had fought him that day? Who knows? But now that the politics of all that stuff's out, that's exciting to see going forward, how that goes. The surprise for me was Nagase. For me, Nagase he's been injured obviously recently, but I think he's one of those players that he's so dangerous and he's so good at what he does. Very good with his Ashiwaza, and I was very surprised where he ended up in his pool and that he never came through. But that's what the public wanted.
Who do you think out of that rivalry at the moment, that Mookie-Malay rivalry, who do you think is number one?
I think for me, I'm gonna say probably Mookie. again, obviously Molly, his worlds didn't go. It obviously didn't go to plan because of the whole political situation. But I'm pretty sure he fought since then, and it wasn't a great outing for him type thing. But Mookie just seems to be. He just seems to be there or thereabout, consistently.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Just even speaking about now, like now, there's a lot more coming through. Like the Belgian boy Cass, as well, is now starting to cause a lot of people problems. And you've got a couple of good Japanese players at that weight with Sasaki and Fujiwara as well, who are both capable of turning up and winning medals. So, I think going forward, I think Mookie is probably the better of the two between him and Molai. But it's one of those things. Do you know what surprised me the most as well? Do you know Nagase was Japan's first world champion at 81s?
Is that true?
So from when the weights changed, Nagase was the first one to win it for them. So,
wow.
It's quite, and it was like Takato was the first world champion since Nomura had won it. Japan had never had a 60 kilo world champion until Takato won it in Rio. So
really?
Yeah.
Did Hiroka never win 60s?
Nah.
Wow.
Nah. So it's one of those things that there's so many good players, and you forget about them.
Oh, look at Stato coming on the show.
I'm trying. Listen, Pat Dawson taught me well.
definitely worth your pay so far.
Oh, well, I'm glad. But I was sorry, on you go. Moving forward, 90s.
Moving on to 90 kilos.
A real weight, Austin, in my eyes.
Well, it's still a little bit light. Still, no real strength here. If you don't know, Reece used to be a force on the British scene at 90 kilos, British silver medalist. He'll tell you some rubbish about getting a medal in the European Cup.
European Open, mate. Serbia European Open.
But that British silver medal, that was a good day.
Yeah, it was a good day. Lost to Max Stewart, who obviously still now is a great player at 90s. So, it's just one of those things. You always have players that you're going to have close fights with. Although there's other players on the team who are just as strong, and I managed to throw and stuff like that. Max is a judo player for me, and the way he fights is that Japanese sort of style of relaxed and then go. So it was kind of, I like to try and fight like that, and he likes to try and fight like that. So it was a good match for me. So I do enjoy fighting Max, but there's a few other boys in there that cause you problems as well, as you know.
Of course.
There's always a few good British boys, no matter what way you go to. So, yeah. But no, 90s, I was excited for 90s. I was very excited for 90s.
Did you see anyone else winning it other than Iliadis, who obviously was the eventual winner?
Overall, do you know, if you look at it, I think it's Iliadis is a people's champ, isn't he? It's not even like he has got fantastic results, but he's just a people's champ. That personality, that charisma, the way he controls the mat when he's on the mat, and the way he controls. You look at his videos in Paris and stuff like that. The way he controls the crowd in Paris, and they love him. So I think that's there as well. Sorry.
So I was going to say, when he was in Scotland, did you get on with him? Were you part of the setup at that time?
I was. I think I was probably like 18 or 19 at the time. The day he turned up was just incredible. Just, again, he did things his own way. The way he warmed up him like with his socks on and no kit on, and just did what he wanted to do. Him and James Miller just wrestling in the middle of the mat while everyone else is doing a normal warm up. It was just such a character, and then to actually fight him, it's like you couldn't do anything against the guy. It's like you were doing a different sport.
Yeah, it was unbelievable. It was completely on another level.
So I've only ever experienced that once or twice with someone where I've trained with them and felt like I wasn't actually doing the same sport as them. So Iliadis is one of them, and there's probably maybe one or two other people that maybe do that. But I'll save that because we can talk about that because they're in the next category as well. So they're in the big boys weight with you, Austin. But yeah, I think Iliadis was always going to win it. I was very surprised that Noel never got a vote.
Yeah, that was a big surprise for me. I was surprised, to be fair, that Baker was the other finalist.
Yeah, the Spanish boy shares his feelings. Flying just now.
Yeah.
I
mean, there's a couple of good Koreans as well at that weight.
Song
my
from
favorite.
before.
Yeah.
I knew he was going to be your favorite. I could just tell.
But like that...
Baker's got that ability just to throw. Like he looks like he can't throw, and then he just throws. It was the same in the final of the games. It was just the way he was controlling the grips, but it just didn't look like he was going to do anything. And all of a sudden, that is there. He's won the Olympics. So yeah, I'm surprised, but at the same time, I can understand it. So he's a nice guy as well.
Did you train with him in Japan?
I trained with him a little bit, but when we were in Tokai, he would speak to us and come up and have a conversation with us. And because obviously he's half American, he spoke to us about. He was just so. I was there in 2016, just after the games, and he came up and spoke to us about the games and about the medal and stuff. And he was genuinely very down to earth and very humble. So he was a nice guy to speak to. So yeah, I was happy to see him in the final. So. We'll see how he progresses.
Moving on to the big boys. We're this is a real weight, finally. And I was delighted with the finalists. I thought they were the best two in the weight. I think I would have gone the other way. So we're talking about Kopalik and Kybalayev as the final. Kopalik was the eventual winner.
Yeah.
For me, Kybalayev had a run of about 2 years where he was untouchable. He didn't lose a fight between 2010 and 2012. He got Hansokumaki'd in one fight, but aside from that, he won everything. Europeans, Worlds, Olympics, untouchable. But then, Kopalik...
Again, it's just he's that current force, isn't he? Like, even moving up to overs, he's still there or thereabout. World champion now, obviously, at overs and stuff like that. But
there or thereabouts.
There or thereabouts, yeah. But this, like you said, this is your weight. You know this weight better than anyone. For me, again, this is so the only other two people that I've trained with properly and felt like I was getting a different sport was Wolf and Haga.
Really?
Obviously, both from Tokai. It got to a point where Billy, who was there with us, Billy Cusack, just looked at me and went, "Are you playing tennis or something?" Because these boys are throwing you all over the place. But yeah, for me, I was gutted. Haga's one of my favourite players currently, and has been for a long, long time. And I hate to admit this, but Anai was also one of my favourite players, and we had the discussion just before the games. I know.
Why
we had
you?
The discussion. We spoke about it actually just after the games, and I said to you, like, that was horrible for me because heading into that games, Anna was, for me, I thought he was unbelievable. One of the best players in the world, and just the way he did judo. And then you, unfortunately, drew him at that first fight in the games. And I was devastated because I liked you as a friend. But Anna was my hero at the time. So, yeah, it was one of those things where you're in a sort of catch-22, aren't you?
I do appreciate the sentiment. But Anai, for me, was, as you were saying, like someone who I'd been on for randori with before and felt like I did not deserve to be on the same mat with him. I couldn't get hands on him. I couldn't stand up with him. It was just ridiculous. And then I've also been on the end of Haga's Uchimata as well. So that's quite nice.
In competition?
In competition, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I did my absolute best to ruin and spoil his judo, and it's lasted for about 2 minutes, kicking him, dragging him, chopping him down, and then he spangled me with one of the most beautiful uchimatas I've ever been thrown with. And there's been a lot.
He has got that as well. He's got a nice uchimata, a bit like Inui's, with that nice big sweep right through. So, but I guess he's Tokai, isn't he? He's learning from that sort of player, so it was good. But yeah, I think like you said, these two were destined to be in the final. But I've got a bit of trivia for you, James.
Oh, hit me.
So, like we talked about earlier with the head-to-heads, these two had 5 fights.
Ooh.
How many do you think? How many do you think each one won?
I'm going to say Kapalik won 3.
You're wrong, mate. Kapalik only won 1.
Really?
Yeah, Khabiliev beat him 4 times. According to Judo Inside, but yeah, Khabiliev beat him 4 times, mate. So, yeah, that little bit of form is not paid true this time, but it's how the cookie crumbles.
For that 2-year period, Khabiliev was a monster. He was untouchable, and he could throw anyone. Like, going into the games, he was just the most unbelievable judo player. And it wasn't a surprise that Putin turned up on the day to watch the under 100 kilo because he swept it.
And did you get, obviously because you were going to the same games, did you get a chance to practice with him, or did you fight him in any competition before that?
We spent some time in Russia for a little bit, about a year before.
Right, okay.
And yeah, again, he gave me one of the worst beatings in such a beautiful such a great judo way.
Yeah.
Like Sianagi, Sodi, over and over again.
Right,
And,
okay. Not that I'm trying to bring back bad memories.
I mean, there was quite a lot of names on the list that I'd been on the end of throws of.
I've got to admit, I had a horrible fight with Fonseca.
Oh, don't even.
In Mittersill a couple of years ago, and like it was one of my last practices. I was done. I didn't want to fight anymore. I didn't want to fight anyone anymore. My Mittersill camp was finished, and we're standing next to Fonseca, and Billy's just pointed at him, pointed at me, and just pointed to the middle of the mat. Oh. And then Go was standing next to him as well, and he's just like nodded. And Fonseca just dragged me by the lapel into the middle of the mat and gave me an absolute shoeing. So yeah, that was good fun. So
I've also been on the end of his Mauricio Nagy as well. Very nice. Very nice.
Lightning.
Just, so fast. Such a good judo player. Yeah. Like, a lot gets talked about his power, but he's got good judo as well.
Yeah, and like it's understandable why people talk about his power, the way he gets under people, and how explosive he can be. But he is, and that was looking across the ways. That was probably the closest pool that you had, with Khabiliev winning it, but then Fonseca, Wolf, and Anna all finished on the same vote. So it was pretty close. Anyone could have went through, but I'm glad those two ended up in the final.
Okay, so moving on, we've bored people enough chatting about under hundreds.
Under hundreds, yeah.
Plus hundreds, there could only be one. But there was another finalist. Another finalist. It wasn't rigged that much.
Nah, well,
he rigged it, really.
It was one of those things where you cannot argue when that result comes through. Like, you just look at it, you go, there's no point even putting the poll up. It's just nice to see who would finish behind them.
Yeah. Obviously, we're talking about Teddy Riner.
Yeah.
And runner-up was Tushishvili.
I've got a question about. Obviously, Teddy was some force, and unfortunately for me, it's unfortunate. I was quite not upset, but I was gutted that he lost that fight in Paris. How did you feel?
To be fair, I think it's probably a good thing for him. Like, as in, he's looked like he's been pushed on a number of occasions by Kopalik, by Tushishvili. Sasson has pushed him as well.
That the boy Kagira gave him a good fight in Canada as well, and almost got sealed him.
Yeah. For most of the guys he's fought, though, he's come back and he's looked so much better the second time out.
Yeah.
And then obviously Kagura's come back and had the doing of him, and I think it'll be good. I think Teddy comes back now, and hopefully it's a realization for him, because
I think the same. I think it's like a wake up call.
Yeah.
But it's like it's an unfortunate mark on that legacy.
Yeah.
In my eyes. So you've got that side of that and stuff, but I think, like you said, it would be good to see him do the judo he can do.
Yeah.
I think as well. I think there was probably a lot of people have, like, complained about his judo recently because it doesn't look nice sometimes, but it's just about winning for him now because I think there
People
was
have
nervous.
always complained about his judo, Reece. It's not a new thing. People
Yeah,
have
but
always complained about his judo because he's so smart with the grips. He doesn't
yeah,
do anything risky. He gets a hand on. Look at me, I'm doing this for the camera now. Two hands
yeah.
on, and he plays it safe. Just enough to play it safe.
I get that, but I think also he had the ability to throw.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
had the ability, and it's like we've not seen that recently from him. Like, he does throw, but he didn't throw as spectacular as he used to. He used to catch with nice Uchimatas and stuff, but I think that fear of losing
mhm,
doesn't help him, and I think that
yeah,
probably does have a negative. I think that now that it's gone, hopefully we see a massive change from him. But he's also getting, yeah, he's not getting old, but he's getting a little bit. He's been on the scene a long time.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Do
went
you
to watch
do
my
you think
first
he
Paris.
wins? Sorry, I
Sorry,
was gonna say, do you think he wins Tokyo next year?
yeah, I think he does. I think after that, I think he does.
Do you,
Um,
I see? I still think Kapalek pushes him the next time they fight. And obviously he wants to do another 4 years to go to Paris Olympics. So that's what
Paris,
he's
of
talked
course,
about
of
so
course.
far. Do you think he
Yeah,
can
nah,
make
of
it that
course.
far? And that would be 4 Olympic titles. Would that be 4? It would be
Yeah, it
four
would. It
Olympic
would.
titles.
If
Yeah,
he wins Tokyo, yeah, it would.
Tokyo
He's
and
got
Paris.
because
Yeah,
he's got
and then
bronze, obviously. Because it
yeah,
was it Tanguyev that beat him before.
yes,
But I don't know. I think the fourth one's a push. I think that period from losing to Kamikawa in 2010 to losing to Kagiura now, it's gonna, obviously he's not gonna be able to replicate that, but even to, like, come close to anything like that again is going to be a remarkable achievement. But I think that after Tokyo, I feel that that should be his last one. But obviously, you can't tell a fighter that. It's up to them. Do you know what I mean?
See,
Um,
I think I it depends who comes through, but I don't think there's anyone there to trouble him. I think Kapalek probably retires after Tokyo. He'll have done 2 weight categories. He's a national
yeah,
hero. I can't
yeah,
see him carrying on. The
but
Japanese generally, I think, are too small physically to fight Teddy. Like the most of the athletes who come through are too small, and I know Kagura beat him. I can't see that happening again. And for
see,
me, obviously, Tushishvili is the other one.
yeah,
I can't see him troubling Teddy again.
for me, like you said, like that, yeah, Tushishvili, I don't see him troubling him. It's like he learned from the first fight with them.
Yeah.
So it's like he plays out that first fight and he learns and he's better in the second fight. Like you said, it was very similar with Karpalik. Very close fight the first time, and then the second time he just knew what he had to do to control the fight. Um, Obviously Kagiura was a different story, but he threw himself. He went for an Uchimata. He thought he had, and he got caught with a nice counter. That
Yeah.
it was just a bit of timing. But if you look at the past two people that beat him, is Kamikawa and Kaguya. They both were shorter left-handers.
Mm.
So is
Er-
that potentially the winning formula? But at the same time, there's been a lot of short left-handers that have tried to fight him, and
Everybody hates a
he's
lefty.
managed to beat them.
Everybody hates a lefty. It's why I think
Yeah,
Kapalik's the
yeah,
most
of
likely
course.
because he's a big, tall lefty, and he's almost as big physically as Teddy. Um,
Yeah,
I think the next time he fights Kagura, he doesn't attack. He just penalizes him out.
yeah,
You know,
and it's that fight management,
yeah.
and
And normally he's
that's
so
something
good
he's
at that.
developed.
And yeah.
Sorry.
Anyway, we're wanting to keep this short. So that's 14. Okay. We're both gonna go a wild card. All right.
I'm excited. I'm excited. I've treated this like a draft for an NFL team, and I've written down possibilities. If you go for this, I'm gonna go here. It's all down to that for me. But listen, I had a big list. I had a big list that I had to keep narrowing down. I've had to take players like, let me see, Hashpatar. He
Yeah.
was in my list for a little while. Denisov and Papanishvili, even Maruyama, who was in the draw. But I've narrowed it down. I've got 3 options just now, and I'm waiting for you to go first, as it is your show. I think it's only fair that you take the first pick. But what I'm going to do just now is I'm going to turn on my television because I'm going to do this draw on my PlayStation. And when you say your name, I'm going to add it into the draw.
Bringing out all the stops for the guys watching.
I'm going to turn
it. People can see the. Where's the tuxedo? Where's the tuxedo? I thought that's what I requested.
Listen, the dry cleaners have been shut, so unfortunately, it's not going to happen this time.
Well, so I'd like to say you made an effort for the show to dress up.
I did. I tried, but
the other option was bikini, and you've not gone for that either.
Nah, the figure's not the same, Austin. The figure is not the same. So I've got all the names of all our fighters in here from our previous finalists and stuff, but we're waiting for the wild cards. That is the main thing. So I'm ready when you are.
So I'm going with someone who didn't make the cut for the main draw for the best of the decade. He's got 5 world medals from this decade, and he's got a world title from just before. Okay, for me, he's someone who's changed judo in that everybody now defends like he does across all the weights, up to about 90 kilos, maybe under 100s. Everybody now defends like he does. Okay, I'm obviously talking about the Ukrainian George Zantaraya.
Oh yes, the man who created impossible judo. With his back flips and his front flips and all sorts. Yeah, nah. Do you know what? He's one of the 3 I had on my list. He's not my top pick, but he is one of the 3 I had on my list. So I'm glad you've chosen him.
Oh, now I'm excited. Now I'm. Who else? So who have I missed?
I'm adding him. I'm adding Zantaraya first, and then I'll let you know because I like to big my guy up as well. Now. This, for me, we were talking earlier about Ebenuma, who's went across 2 weight categories and been consistent. And I think that, like we talked about, 90 kilos was my weight. So it's one of those players that I watched and I focused on. And now he's moved up to under 100s, consistently around the medals, always around the medals. Not always gold, but around the medals. But I'm going for Lipitiliani, who I think... like I said, looking at his stuff, I'm only looking this up so I can actually learn how to spell his name properly. But Olympic silver, 3 world silvers, 3 European golds, 5 silvers at the Europeans. It's just such a collection of medals that I think he had to be part. And that's why I was surprised not to see him in the 90 kilo category. But like you said, the world championship sort of criteria. He's not got that because he has the 3 silvers.
Well, there was a lot of athletes who were left out the original list because they didn't have world titles. And 90 kilos is one of those weights where there were so many people who've won a world title. There was no one out and out much more dominant than anyone else.
Yeah.
You could argue that Lipitiliani should have been in there because he's got 4 world finals, 4 world final appearances. Yeah. Unfortunately, there were 8 other men with global titles,
world medals, world titles, and Olympic titles. It's just the consistency for me. Again, and he's got one of those personalities. Seeing him at Metasil, he just seems like a very, very genuine guy, and he seems people get on with him. I think he's the Georgian Iliadis. Iliadis is Georgian originally, but he's like Georgia's actual Iliadis now. So yeah, I've gone for Lipitiliani. So that is him and Zantaraya in our tournament draw.
Excellent. So you gonna do the random draw for us?
I'm gonna try and turn this so we can see it. Sorry, I'll go sideways again. So here's all our players in this little bit here, and I'm gonna hit this draw button once I get it. Draw now.
This is very exciting.
I'm excited. Here we go. So, pool number 1, we have Baker, Soborov, Iliadis, and Reiner.
Ooh. Oh, Iliadis and Reiner in the same pool.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Pool 2, we've got Karpalik, Kim, Nakaya, and Tushishvili.
Okay.
And then 2 seconds, we'll just scroll down a little bit. Pool 3, we've got Lipitiliani, Abe, Ebenuma, and Takato.
Oh,
And
Abby and Ebony. That is the pool of death for the Japanese fighters there.
Pool. And then in our last pool, we have Ono, Trikishvili, Kaibuliev, and Zantaraya. So that's quite exciting.
That is unbelievable. Which is the pool of death for you?
Oh, good. Pool 3.
Pool 3.
How has my man ended up in that pool? That
is a nasty pool to get.
And a rematch with Abe and Ebenuma.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see which way that goes this time.
Abe, Ebenuma, Takato, and Lippy. So yeah, no, I think that's exciting. I feel sorry for Zantaraya. Your pick in with Ono.
But I think again, Zantaraya is one of those athletes who's got the character that he's going to pick up votes because people like him.
People like him, and he's exciting to watch. But Eliadis versus Reiner.
I know.
I just read that again and seen it and thought,
who'd you go for? No, don't tell us. Don't tell us.
I'm gonna have to wait. I'm gonna have to wait it up. I'm gonna be writing my stats and everything to find out who. Do you know what I'm gonna watch? There is a fantastic video, and I'm sure it's at the Kodokan. I'm think of Eliadis and Reiner practicing together.
Randori, yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and watch it. But yeah, I think that's a pretty good draw.
I think it's do you know what? I think every group is interesting.
Yeah.
Every group's a little bit interesting. How we're going to do it, we're going to get the podcast out on the Friday or the Saturday, and we will open the voting for the pools from Monday to the Wednesday. Okay.
Right, okay. Yep.
Winner of the pools will go through to a semi-final, which will be the Thursday. And on the Friday, as yet undetermined which Friday, maybe the same week, we will get the men's winner, the final.
That's exciting. It's exciting.
Do you know what? And then before I saw the draw, I had a couple of favourites, but now I see the draw, I'm like, oh.
Yeah, I was the same. Do you know what? It's good to see Ono and Reiner completely opposite sides of the draw.
Yeah.
It's good to see that. But there could be upsets. There could be some upsets in here. So we'll have to wait and see.
Reece, we'll let this go for a week, and then I'll get you back on to talk through the aftermath and introduce the women's.
Yeah. Yes, to find out our pound for pound queen.
That's the one.
But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited, Austin. Very excited.
Hey,
I just keep looking over the draw and trying to work out who I'm gonna vote.
Mate, absolute pleasure having you on, buddy.
Thank you very much. Hopefully, yeah, we'll catch up and hopefully make this a bit more regular. It's good to see an old face, and like I was saying, not while you're strangling me this time. The amount of times I've had to sign a picture of our faces with me getting rolling strangled. Thanks to Mr. Richard Golden for that picture.
I give out the one where you're kissing me. I just give it out to people on the street.
Do you know what I used to have as my background for a good while? For people who don't know, me and Austin, like James said, we used to train together a little bit. And after every session, James would ask me to do a few extra Tom and Aggies after Sam Ingram had battered me for 2 hours. And there was a day that Richard Golden, he's got a fantastic book full of photos from players from all over the country, was taking pictures of us. And my best ones are the ones of me and James, where there's one where we're kissing, unfortunately. Not meant, but it's one of those things where he's dragging my head and my face is just pressed against his face. But there's also 2 other very good ones where you're foot sweeping me.
Yeah, I love the foot sweep. That is a
And
great.
have you seen the one where you're doing like a Marotti seal and you've got me like straight armed up?
I'm gonna.
I'll send it to you, right? There's one of you where you've like turned in for a Marotti, but instead of just doing a normal Marotti, you've tried to push me as high as you can in the air, so you get a nice photo, and then just whacked me with it after. So yeah, I'll have to send those through to you.
Is it in the book? I'll check. I'll check.
No,
Book
I
out.
think the only one of us in the book is the strangle, but I'll send you the one I'm talking about,
Oh,
and we can
please.
post it. We can post it somewhere so the guys can see.
I'd
But
love that.
yes, it was a pleasant day for me.
It
Pleasant day.
was every day was a pleasant day for me, just being on the mat with you.
Well, I'm glad you said it.
Um, so thanks for listening. If you are one of the lucky few to have checked it out on YouTube, well done. If you haven't, obviously it's going to be Original Judo Pod. So search for us on YouTube if you have enjoyed the show so much and want to go back and see what we look like.
Put a
But
face
yeah,
to the voice.
exactly. Reece, I mean, it's
Yeah,
unfortunate this one. I've had my wife has given me a clipper haircut today, so I don't know. It's looking
listen, I
pretty
am not.
ropey.
I'm not risking it. I'm not risking it. I'm getting to an age now where if I start cutting my hair, it might not go back. So we're keeping it. We're keeping it for as long as we can. I
I
could
know
end
that
up coming
fear.
out this quarantine like Tarzan, but it's staying. It's staying. So
Well, that's what the guys can look forward to. Is if we get this on video again, we can see the
watching it
progression
slowly
of your
grow.
hair.
Yeah, no, we'll see. We'll see. I'll model it next time.
Awesome, Reece. Thanks so much, mate. Catch
No
you
worries,
soon.
mate. Thanks for having me. See you soon.